Alrighty, we have two red wires here. We have two black wires, and we have two white wires, and we have our two ground wires. We're going to put a multi-wire branch circuit outlet in, and the top half is going to be on the red and the bottom half is going to be on the black. There is 240 volts between the red and the black, and it's sharing the neutral. And I'll show you how to install this. If you look at the side of an outlet, you'll see the silver screws. That's the neutral, and that is the wide slot over here. Then you'll see two brass screws. They go to the narrower slot, which is over here, which is the live. And the ground, which is bare or green, always goes to that green screw. So since we have two circuits, see this little tab here? We have to break that little tab off. So you take a pair of needle nose pliers, you hold it in there like that, and you just rock it back and forth. I'll have to go get a different pair of needle nose pliers. Okay, so I take my pliers and I hold that little tab in there like that. And I just rock it back and forth. And now you can see how the little tab is missing there. And you'll see it in my pliers here. So now we have separate top and bottom power, and our neutral, we leave that little tab in there. So now we'll connect our wires. We'll take our two red wires. We'll clip this one shorter here. We'll strip this one with our 14 gauge hole. And we'll strip this one with our 14 gauge hole. You always use the wire size that matches the wire you're stripping, so you don't make a weak spot in your wire. And these are the ideal version of the Wagos here. Push the little lever down. Put your wire into the hole. Make sure your insulation goes up into the plastic there. Snap it back. And you can see how the copper comes up to the top and the insulation stays down in the bottom where it's under the cover there. That is how to install these. And we'll lift up our other one here. Put our red in here. Make sure our insulation does not get under the copper, so we have to strip these a little longer because the insulation goes right up to the bottom of the plastic. So we'll strip with our 14 gauge hole. Put it in, clip it down. Put it in, clip it down. Now one thing you can do to keep these levers from opening up, so you can take some electrical tape here. This is some high quality 3M. Cut the tape with your scissors so you don't pull on it and stretch it and make it come off again afterwards. You just put the tape around the connector here, and that will keep it from the levers from lifting up. Alrighty, so there's our reds. Now we'll do our blacks. This one's a little long, so I'll clip it back some, like this. Clip our other black one with our 14 gauge hole. Always strip with the wire the size that, whoops, we're on our 12. So there's our 14, like this here. And I'll show you again up close with the lever connector. You just push it in the hole like that. Make sure that you just make sure that the insulation gets in under the covering there. And I'll flip it around. And you can see that the copper goes up to the top. Okay, I look at the top, make sure all three of our coppers are up at the top, and I'll look at the bottom, make sure all our insulation is up under the plastic. So we'll get another piece of tape on this one here. And we'll put our tape around our levers here so they don't come off. I don't stretch the tape, I just put it around snug here so it stays on. So there's our blacks. Okay, now we can fold our black ones back into our box. Fold our red ones back into the box here. So now we'll get our white wires done. I'll clip this one a little bit shorter here because it's a little bit too long. Strip this one with our 14 gauge hole. And I'll strip this one with our 14 gauge hole. Try and make sure your wires are perfectly straight when you put them in these connectors. And you can see that again, how the wire is supposed to sit in the connector, and the insulation is supposed to be seen at the inside the plastic, and the copper goes up to the top. Put our other two in, snap it down. Make sure all our copper is coming up to the top here. Now we'll take and put some tape around it to keep the connector from coming off. So we'll just wrap it around our connector. This will keep the levers from popping up, because this box is going to be kind of crowded with the outlet in it. So now we have just our ground wires to do next here. So we'll put our tail in here like this, lock it down. We'll get our other two. Get them even here. Push them in, make sure I see my copper up at the top on both of them. There we go. I see my copper all even at the top. And I'll put some tape around this lever, the levers, to hold the levers down. Unfortunately, the ground wires were a little short, but fortunately they were long enough to get to them. So we just push this into the back of our box here. So now we'll hook our outlet wires up to our outlet here. Okay, so we'll strip our wires and we'll put them around our screws on the outlet. So we'll strip our wires with our 14 gauge hole. Alrighty, so here in the country I was born in, we use 14 American wire gauge on 15 amps, 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps. Black is live, white is neutral, the bay or the green is the ground. Red and blue are also live colors. However, you may find white live in a 110, 120 volt switch loop or on a 220, 240 volt circuit where the appliance does not require a neutral. And we're going to hook our wires up to the outlet now. So first we only have one white wire, so we'll open up one silver screw. And this link here connects to the top and bottom half, so we're not splitting the neutral, this here, because it's sharing the neutral. So we put our white wire on the silver colored terminal here, which is the wider slot over here. And your black, which is live, goes on the brass colored screw, which is the narrow slot. And since this is a multi-wire branch circuit, we're going to have a black and a red on this side with that little link out. Blue is also a live color. So first we'll hook our white up onto the silver screw. We'll close our loop the direction our screw turns. We'll put our ground wire over here on our green screw. Close the loop the direction our screw turns. You always put your wire around the screw the direction the screw turns, because if you put it around the other way, when you tighten the screw, it will open the loop, and when you put it around the screw the direction the screw turns, it will close the loop when you tighten the screw. Okay, so now we're going to do this is our two separate circuits here, so we're going to open this screw up, and we'll open up our bottom screw. So you make your loops the direction that your screw turns. So that's a little long there. You always put your wire around the screw the direction the screw turns. Close the loop the direction our screw turns. And you make sure you want to get your copper under the screw head all the way around. Put our black one on the bottom. It doesn't matter which one you put on the top or the bottom, but to keep it uniform, all the other ones are on the red is on the top and the black is on the bottom, so we're just keeping it uniform. You want to make sure you get your copper under the screw head all the way around. So now we can screw our outlet into the box, and we'll keep this ground wire down across the bottom so it stays away from our live terminals. We'll push this into our box. Go up and down like an accordion. And now we can screw it in. And we'll finish it by hand so we don't strip our holes out. Get her out nice and straight on the box here. Now just make sure nothing is forced in here and our ground wire is down away from everything. It's back away from everything. I'll push our ground wire down a little bit here, just to keep it down away from everything. And now we can stick our cover back on. So now we'll go turn our breaker on, and I'll show you with the meter what we have. Okay, so I'll go over to the breaker box and turn our breaker back on. I'm over at our breaker box here. And this is a double pole 15 amp breaker, so we'll turn that on. Alrighty, so we're going to check with our digital meter here. We have 120 on our black wire. I'll click the little backlight on there so you can see it. We have 120 on our red wire. Now I'll check between our red and our black, and we have 244 volts. So that is how to wire a multi-wire branch circuit with a feed through to another receptacle here in the country I was born in. Peace. Thanks for watching.